Welcome to the Pissin' on the Roses website. Feral dogs out in the cold, marking our descent one rosebush at a time. So now that we've gotten about 90% of the people who clicked on this video to exit out of it, those of you wise enough to stay behind and watch it all the way through the end, you're going to find out some information that nobody else in the country is willing to tell you about how Boeing went from technical excellence to Dennis Muhlenberg telling people, the CEO, to execute flawlessly. Yeah, you heard that right. Flawlessly. First, I'll give you some quick bullet points on areas of concern on the 737 MAX. Even after they make this fix with the MCAS system, wind shear should terrify any Boeing engineer, any airline pilot, and any FAA stooge, if you will, who's looking into that 737 MAX. Wind shear. If there's something that's going to make that airplane fall out of the sky and make that MCAS system fail, that's it. And we'll get into more on that in a moment. It's also the 787. Systemic failures on how the 737 MAX got made and how that escape defect of that aircraft got pushed out on the public should really make people concerned about the potential for explosive decompression related to non-conformance disposition reports on the 787 carbon fiber composite fuselages. But again, we'll get into that in a minute. I'll tell you what the root cause of why this 737 MAX has failed. It's the engineers. The engineers are majority. The ones in Boeing New Airplane Division, they're majority face-saving culture. And Boeing management wants it that way, because they don't speak up about problems. And unlike most companies, Boeing managers, there's no benefit for them hearing about problems on their program. There's none. As a Boeing manager, you can have failure after failure after failure and still be promoted to the CEO of the company, as long as your failures were perceived as being well run. And that's how Dennis Muhlenberg got to the top of the company. Failed at Joint Strike Fighter, failed at Future Combat Systems, was promoted to the head of Boeing's military division, failed at getting the Air Force's new failed at getting the Air Force's new stealth bomber, then became CEO of the company. And he literally put out a PowerPoint when he was in St. Louis, when he took over, directing people to, quote, execute flawlessly. That's not a joke. Execute flawlessly. You can succeed as a Boeing, as a manager, by failing, as long as they were well-run failures. And Boeing hires people, especially in New Airplane Division, who culturally are uninclined to speak up. They want to save face, and that concept is promoted. As strange as it may sound, one could literally pick up Boeing New Airplane Division and relocate it to Hong Kong, Taiwan, with minimal impact. It's the engineers. Engineers should have said, let's not design an airplane around a regulation. Let's design an aircraft for airworthiness. Engineers should have said, let's not put out an airplane with a single point failure that could take people's lives. Unfortunately, because of that majority culture not willing to speak up, and because management seeing no benefit to anybody speaking up, the first people that really got note of these problems were the test pilots. And the test pilots are majority U.S. military, very Western culture. But they're faced with a decision when they discover these things. Everything's in motion. The plane's been designed. The plane's been ready to be released. Sales are coming. If the pilots speak up, they risk making the company fold. At least that's what they're told. Or they can risk a kludge fix, which hopefully they hope works. But the pilots are willing to speak amongst themselves, the test pilots, and as you've heard in the media, they'll say, the designers are clowns and the supervisors are monkeys, and yeah, that's pretty much true. But these guys don't want to lose their jobs either. It's not like they get fired immediately, but employment would not be long in the future for them if they spoke up. So there have been some very, very serious failures on the 737 MAX as a system. Basically, what it shows is the final straw that was keeping Boeing as being a reasonable company is broken. And that straw breaking really draws into question the things that were done on the 787. And if there's one thing that terrifies me about the 787, it's the fuselage sections, the barrel sections. They're made of insanely expensive materials. No manager at Boeing, none, would ever want to scrap a 787 barrel section because it is so expensive. They would never want to scrap it. They would want to do anything possible to keep it going. And a lot of those aircraft, which are 10 years old now, when they were first being made, the very first production models, those ones have lots of NDRs on them. NDR, in some parts of Boeing, that's what it's called. It's a non-conformance disposition report. It's an indication that the aircraft as built does not match the blueprint as to how it was built or is supposed to be built. And when those things happen in a well-run system, they go up to quality, they go up to engineering. Engineering okays the exchange in designs required to make them usable. Quality approves it. Eventually, FAA sees it. Airlines eventually see it because it travels with airplane documentation to the airlines. And if everything's run well, it's something that can increase maintenance problems for the airlines and makes maintenance difficult. But usually the aircraft is safe if the system runs well. Well, what the 737 MAX has shown us is that the system doesn't run well. And the large number of NDRs on the 787 barrel sections give me great pause that aircraft could, especially their early 10-year-old versions of it, could explosively decompress. If you start getting news reports of decompression occurring on 787s, that's your sign that something's going wrong. Now, in regard to that 737 MAX system, the MCAS system, wind shear, as I said, that should scare the crap out of everybody. Because the one place that is most likely to trigger everything that could possibly go wrong with even their new improved software fix for the 737 MAX is a landing during a wind shear event. That taxes everything. Even if the airplane was perfect, didn't have these stability problems, it's a scary thing for pilots. Now you throw in an MCAS system that may give erroneous inputs that you have to figure out, angle of attack indicators that are most likely to fail in a wind shear condition, and an aircraft that wasn't designed for airworthiness, but rather was designed to meet a federal government regulation. You've got a very, very scary scenario there. And I think The only way Boeing's going to be able to recover this 737 MAX is to increase the size of the horizontal stabilizer. Maybe they can get by with putting some winglets on the horizontal stabilizer. That'd make it look cool. Sell it to the public as our cool new horizontal stabilizer that offsets the stability issues made with that engine placed the way it is. Might work. But the bigger problem is this execute flawlessly system is now inherent in Boeing. It's been going on since probably right after Granville Fraser, the chief engineer on the 777, got out of the company. Look at his website, grannyfraser.com. This guy started to spill the beans back several years ago on his website about what was going on at Boeing. He called it, what was it, Land of Assassins. It is it's written in a cryptic read that mostly people might have a harder time understanding, but he was about to put forward a name the names type thing. Go check it out, grannyfraser.com. The most important thing you need to know about flying any aircraft, usually, at least it used to be, Boeing aircraft were much safer, had many fewer NDRs than Airbus aircraft. But these days, your real safety is the airline. You don't fly the airplane, you fly the airline. The airline's the one who has the pilots. The airline is the one who does the maintenance. Is your airline hiring aircraft pilots, or is it hiring aircraft operators? That's the question. You fly the airline keeps you safe. Picking the best airline to fly, that's what ensures your survival.